Welcome, one and all, to the Friday, July 15th edition of the Signals from Mars live stream. This is hour one. Joining me this week, once again, is Johan up in Sweden. Johan, how are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm very good.
And we have Jeremy a little farther south in England. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very well. Thanks. Very well.
Awesome. So another Friday is here, another batch of new releases, and another batch of topics to discuss with you guys. So real quickly, just want to go through the new releases here. I wrote about Italian band Sick and Beautiful's new release, Starstruck, an album that I'm surprised that Frontiers released, given the fact that it's more of a industrial metal album. They have been kind of branching out lately, although they said that they were going to focus more on their bread and butter, but I guess they haven't done that yet. But anyway, I would recommend this to anyone that's into Marilyn Manson or In This Moment or Rob Zombie, Power Man 5000, Nine Inch Nails, that type of thing. So it's right up my alley. I know that not everyone enjoys that kind of stuff, but yeah. So out of all the things that I listened to, it was kind of the one that jumped out at me. I listened to a little bit of the Beck and Johnny Depp album, which came out today. Alan Parsons, God is an Astronaut from Ireland, Sinner, which I listened to yesterday. Senses Fail, Tombs, Jack Starr's Burning Star, In Human Condition, Fellowship, Critical Defiance, Screeching Weasel, Metal Lucifer, Mantar, Rain City Drive, Echoes, Behold the Monolith, Palace, Anti-Gamma, Ian Blurton's Future Now, I guess how it's pronounced, and Hissing. EPs that came out today are Innova Skyway, which got a good response on Patreon. Laces Out, which no, I thought I mentioned it before, but I guess I looked at it so many times today that I thought it was listed twice. Reissues from the Beastie Boys, Check Your Head, which is one of my favorites by them. Entombed and Primal Fear reissued their first album. Live albums by Anthrax, that Anthrax Excel album that we've discussed several times on Patreon, which to me is a missed opportunity. You build us up with all of these past members, showing them the documentary, and then when it comes time to do the 40th anniversary show to go along with the documentary, you don't have any of them. So another live album by Orianthe, and a compilation, which is a digital only release. It is Rage Against the Machine, Live and Rare. A few things that and actually before I jump over to this, any releases that stick out to you guys that you want to check out?
I listened to the new Arch Enemy song.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, Johan.
Oh, okay.
No problem. Jeremy, any of these that stand out to you? And I know that you wanted to do a live patrons pick as well. So
yeah, well, just with the ones you just mentioned, I mean, I'll probably go through most of them over the next week or so. The Alan Parsons will be quite interesting to have a listen to, because I think I read something about that a few days ago, and it was quite rated. So it's quite interesting to pick up on something that somebody else thinks is good. But yeah, I'll listen to most on that list. Nothing sort of strikes me as above anything else, but I'll give them all a go as normal.
But a lot of times, even though there are a few, like for example with the Journey album that came out, or the Clean Break, I was like, oh, these are right up Jeremy's alley. But every now and then you like to surprise us. You sent me a message earlier today, I believe, or yesterday, saying that you want to do the Patrons live, and that it was something that was kind of outside of the box for you. So I've been intrigued all day. and now is the time to take the bow off the box per se. Let's see what's Jeremy's patron's pick.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, obviously, Patron's pick is on the releases that you've done the week before. So I go through all the releases that you've gone listed on your site, and I might sort of pick up one or two others from other sources, and I'll listen to as many as I can, just picking out various tracks and see which ones I listen that I like. And you're right, I should have picked the Journey album because it is a 9 out of 10 album. I've got the vinyl, and it's a fantastic album. It's got some great songs on it. It's a great AOR album. But then what I thought, most of the Journey fans are going to pick it up anyway. Everyone knows Journey, so you know what you're going to get with Journey, but you need to hear something new. So I went through the list again, and there's a few others on there. I mean, I listened to the Crossing Rubicon album. That's called Perfect Storm. That was, it was very safe, melodic rock. Can't say that it's something I was going to put in the Patron's pick slot. Then I listened to an album. It was really good, sort of prog rock in a sort of Deep Purple style. It was by a band called Sweet Freedom. That's on the Melodic Passion Records, and it's a strange title. It's actually called According to Jürgen Schellender. But I highly recommend it. It's very well produced. It's got some really good songs on it. Very well worth a listen. But it wasn't Patron's pick. It nearly made it. So what is Patron's pick this week? Well, it's an album by the band called Dead Tired. It's called Satan Will Follow You Home. And I don't know if you know the band at all, but they're a hardcore punk band from Canada. There's some members in there with Alexis on Fire and Born Wrong. They brought out a self-titled debut, then a sort of a series of EPs. It was new to me. I didn't know much about them at all, but I was blown away by it. It was real sort of mosh pit aggression album. If you like that sort of thing, it's not for everyone, but there was quite a lot of melody in there. A lot of direction in the songwriting, and it was one to really sort of bash your head to at the end of a Friday. So Patron's pick this week is a bit of an outside pick, but it's the album by Dead Tired, and it's Satan Will Follow You Home.
Wow, was not expecting that at all. See that? that is awesome. When Jeremy gives us one of those curveballs. Where we're expecting him to come right down the middle with Journey or Clean Break or one of those, and there you go. Awesome. I didn't get a chance to listen to that one, but now I will. And I saw that Johan was writing something down, so maybe he was writing that down to check out. So, see that? I want to real quickly here. I want to say hello to Rob Rowe in the chat. He's saying that he's waiting for his burnt copy of Just Push Play, the reissue. Jeremy saying that he would rather burn his toes a few weeks ago than listen to that album again. And also want to welcome Mr. Brad Dahl to the show as well. I know you've been under the weather. Hope you're doing a little better today.
Thanks. Thanks, Victor. Yeah, I'm actually kind of sluggy today. I don't know. This has really hit me hard. But it's good to see you guys. Good to see Johan, and of course, good to see Jeremy, and good to see you. So Jeremy, yeah, I'm intrigued by your patron's pick there. Satan Will Follow You Home, huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's in your sort of ballpark, but give it a go.
Yeah, you know me well, and I appreciate that. I'd give it a listen, though. Anything that you like, is definitely worth listening to. And hey to Bob out there. Good to see Bob with us. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bob. I was actually thinking of coming to St. Louis this last week to see the Dodgers there, and I just wasn't up for it. I just couldn't go. But it would have been fun, and hopefully to see you as well. So next time, St. Louis.
Good thing is they go out to St. Louis several times a year.
Actually, they only go once. Although I hear the schedule's changing next year. They're going to be doing weird things with it, but we don't want to get off on a baseball talk here. Let's talk music. I don't know if Judas Priest, I think they're playing somewhere in Missouri on their next leg. I didn't recognize the name of the town. Maybe it's a suburb of St. Louis. Of course, I've promised to take Bob to see Judas Priest if they come to that neck of the woods. So I got to look into that a little bit more.
Awesome. So there were a few different new tracks that I'd listed that came out this week by some prominent bands. And there was one band that Jeremy, you mentioned. Let's take a stab at that first. David Ellefson reappears with a new band, a death metal band that is put together from members of other pretty well-known bands. And Jeremy, you brought it up. What did you think of the track? Did you get a chance to listen to it? And what's your initial thought?
Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously it was a very growly vocal, which you kind of was going to. I was kind of expecting that with, the description of the band. I thought there was some decent production on it. I thought it was well produced. I thought it was quite an exciting track. It was a bit in the sort of when Testament do their growly stuff. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that. I thought it was something to go on. It was something that I thought I want to hear a bit more from the band, but it wasn't blowing me away. I just thought, yeah, Dave's there. It's nice to see him playing again. It's nice that he's formed a band. They seem proficient at what they're doing. But there was nothing there that was sort of blowing me and sort of saying, well, I'll play it again and again. But let's hear some more from the band. It was just maybe an initial track, a bit like the sort of Queensryche discussion we've had recently. Is it their best track, or is it just a track they've released? We'll wait and see.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and the other two members are Guillaume Miranda, who was in Entombed AD, and the drummer is Mikhail Lysako, who was from Decapitated. So the band is claiming that they're based in Poland, which is interesting. But according to the press release, it says Ellefson, Miranda, Lysako pushed beyond the stereotypes of their genres to create charismatic new sound, one which is rich with inventive guitar riffs, tight drum grooves, technical prowess, guttural vocals, and catchy melodies, serving as the passageway for their declaration. So we'll see. I mean, along the lines of what you said to me, Jeremy, I don't think they're reinventing anything for sure. I'm interested to see what else they're going to release and if the rest of the album will sound like this or if we'll get any sort of variation. Johan, did you get a chance to listen to this? Okay.
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. Brad, I'm assuming you did not either, because I
haven't had a chance to listen to it. I'm going to guess that it's going to be something I'm not going to vocally enjoy, maybe musically, but not vocally. I'll certainly listen to it. I don't know if I'll give it to Victor Emeru as 2 listens, but I will give it a 1.
Okay. Next, Johan already mentioned that he got to listen to the new Arch Enemy track. What did you think of that?
What did I think of that? I like it. It's good. And when I heard the song, immediately, the first time I heard it, it was the riff during the Michael Amott stole a riff from I wrote it down on my telephone. In the verse,
okay,
the riff is "No Easy Way Out" from the Rocky soundtrack. Haven't you guys thought about that?
From the
Not
Rocky
yet.
soundtrack, you're saying?
Yeah, Robin Tepper.
Okay.
There's no
Yeah.
easy way out. You know what? You know the song?
I don't know the song. Does anyone know the song?
I think I've heard it. Yeah.
What? You don't know that song? Okay. That's a home lesson for you boys. Listen to that song. Immediately, that struck me that they are doing a 80s metal thing again. And this time they choose the Robin Tepper. I don't know, Robin, whatever. But I really would have liked that they had chosen some clean vocals again, as we always say about Arch Enemy. But if they do that, I think that they will go to the next level immediately. But that's their way to proceed things. But yeah, I'm interesting to hear what you guys think about the song. I have heard it, I don't know, 3 times perhaps. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I've had a very prominent player say to me behind the scenes, I can't listen to Arch Enemy, any of the new Arch Enemy stuff, because it's the same formula. I'm angry for the verse and I'm happy for the chorus. And they told me, they're not giving me anything that I'm not expecting from them. And it's funny because I was listening to the track and I kept thinking, if she switches to clean vocals, the song is going to take off. If she switches, and there's one spot for like 2 seconds where she sings something clean and it's back to the growling again. And I'm like, it's such a missed opportunity, I think. It's just so weird. But Jeremy, did you get a chance to listen to the song?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm echoing exactly what you guys have just said. I mean, I wrote down a little generic, so I'm getting in what sort of Johan's saying there a little bit about the the riffing, and then I put it's a nice combination of melody, but there's a little bit too much growling, and do bands not understand what we're kind of saying? I mean, we're guys out there listening to the music. Surely there's a lot of other people like us hoping that they will just ditch growling and just sing the song, because it could be so much better. But overall I kind of like the song, and but I just think it could have gone from the championship to the premiership by just by just singing. There's nothing wrong with singing a song.
I think there's a real stigma, Johan, and actually Jeremy. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed this with fans here. Well, they'll distinctly tell you, well, this is metal and that's heavy metal, and heavy metal is for old people and metal is for young people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's Michael and Angela, who still has a firm grasp on the band because she's still their manager. If that's the way that they want to direct the ship, because they want them to still be considered a metal band. But I don't know. It's just a weird choice where, you pick a vocalist who can obviously sing clean stuff. She's a great clean singer. Yep. She's sung with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, with Camelot, with The Agonist, obviously, before this. And she's been working on a solo album for like 10 years now since she joined the band. But I don't know. We've heard the one song with clean singing. I don't know if we'll hear any more of that or not. We'll see. We'll have to wait till the album comes out. The album was supposed to be out already, but they changed the date like the week before. They switched the date up. I don't know the original date in my head. I don't know if it was going to coincide with another album that maybe was going to, they felt was going to be too much competition for them, so they switched it to later on, or what the story was. But Johan, what do you have there?
Yeah, just to be not so be to be a little bit clearer, the riff that I was going for is Robert Tepper from Rocky Four, No Easy Way Out, one of the biggest songs from that album.
Okay.
That was the riff that I was talking about. Just
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
It wouldn't be surprising if he's seen the movie or heard the soundtrack many times, and maybe he didn't even maybe it wasn't conscious, because a lot of times you hear something, you don't realize it, and you start to write a melody, and it
Oh,
sides
he's conscious in this one, because if you hear the guitar sound on this one and the old version, it's it's conscious.
Okay.
And it's fun. It's good. It's great. It's great of him to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Did anyone get to hear the new Disturbed song?
Yes.
Okay. The song is called Hey You. Jeremy, what did you think of the track?
Okay, so I come from this as not a massive Disturbed fan. I kind of got into them a little bit because my wife got into The Sound of Silence and then made me buy the album. And I listened to the album, then listened to a lot of the older stuff that they did, and sort of like, I kind of like them, but not a lot. Anyway, I listened to this song, and I really liked it. I thought it was something that I wanted to play several times. It had a strange key to it. I thought there was it was slightly off on the key, but it was very melodic, and I thought that the vocal sounded and the song itself sounded quite like a Dee Snider song. So I'd suggest you go back and listen to it and just picture Dee Snider singing it, because I kind of did. I got that sort of impression. But I liked it overall. I thought it was a good song.
Cool. It's funny because I really think the song sounds like something that could have come off of their second album. I haven't been keen, although I picked up not their last album, but the one before on vinyl, because I really like the lead single for that. But there have been a few albums there where, I liked a lot of their earlier music, but then, it just seemed like they were doing the same thing over and over again. But this song, I mean, it sounded okay. It sounds promising. I'm interested to see where it goes after this. Johan or Brad, did you get a chance to listen to this song? It's called Hey You, and it's by Disturbed. Okay, Johan is saying no. Brad?
I was actually just listening to it as Jeremy was talking, and Jeremy's totally on point there about it sounding a bit like something Dee Snider would do now. But I thought it sounded all right. I would love to give it another listen. Let's see, I got to respond to Jeremy there. Okay. I thought it was all right. I mean, I've not really spent a lot of time listening to Disturbed, so I can't really comment on their catalog. But yeah, I'll give it another listen.
Rob Rowe is saying not enough monkey sound for me. That is interesting because my kids call David Draymond of Disturbed and Jonathan Davis of Korn. They keep telling me, why do they keep trying to sound like the Cookie Monster when they sing? So I get what you're saying, Rob. Last here, the new Skid Row track. We heard the title track first, and then now they've released a second track, which is called, trying to pull this up. I guess I should have had it.
Tear It Down.
Tear It Down. Okay, thank you. What do you guys think of the track? Did you guys all get to hear this track, or who got to hear it? Let's see. Okay, all three of you guys. All right, Johan, what did you think of the track?
It's good. Sounds like a rat to me, but that's a good thing. So, yeah, it's a good track.
Okay.
Nothing spectacular, but yeah, great. Good song.
Okay, Brad, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like it as much as I like the first single, but maybe with repeated listens, this will grow on me. I I think they sound great. I think these guys are really on the right path with what they're doing. Um, I guess the real question is, what are they doing?
Mhm.
I mean, at this point, as much as I'm going to buy this album when it comes out, but how
Right.
much are they really going to play off of this album? Are they going to try to embrace Eric and actually play like 4 songs off of this album, or can they?
Mhm.
Because they're kind of tied to their past catalog, their first couple of albums. And
Right.
I mean, when I saw them warm up for Scorpions, pretty much everything was off of the first 2 albums, and maybe 1 or 2 songs up the third album. And they were fantastic, just
Mhm.
unbelievably fantastic. And they did play the single as well. And live, it came across just really, really well.
Mhm.
So I like what they're doing. I'm excited to see them after this album comes out and see what they're putting out there.
Okay, Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with the guys, and also with what Bob's just put. It's decent, not terrible, because I think he summed it up perfectly. It's a decent track, but it's nothing, nothing special. I think the new Skid Row, to me, they sound like a sort of a rocked up Bon Jovi. They sound like what Bon Jovi should be doing, and playing sort of like proper classic hard rock, and it's enjoyable stuff, but it's nothing special. But I agree with Brad. The first track I like better than this one. But having said that, there's nothing wrong with this one, and I really like the singer. And I'm going to just test my Swedish and pronounce his name. So Johan's going to laugh his head off, but I think you pronounce it. What is it? Eric Grunwald? Grunwald? No, there you go. He's laughing his head off.
You're
Grönvall.
There you go. That's the proper pronunciation.
Say after me, please.
Go on.
Yeah, Grönvall.
Grönvall. Grönvall. There we go.
I don't know. In Utah, we'd pronounce it. Well, of course, we pronounce stuff wrong all over the place here. So that's one of the beauties of living here in Utah is you can pronounce things any way you want. Nobody has a problem with it because nobody really knows how to pronounce things. So come on over, Jeremy.
Yeah, but what we can all agree on is he's a great singer. So they've found somebody great there.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable singer live. I mean, I just kept shaking my head, going, "This can't be real." What he's doing, and he does it effortlessly. The one thing is he's a little weird on stage. I mean, he moves kind of odd, and I mean that's him. So there you go. I'm not going to say he needs to change what he does, but he's very personable. When I saw him, he was down in the crowd a lot, shaking hands and really just mixing with the people. I mean, he was a front man. He didn't just stand there and sing. He was all over the place. And if you hadn't seen that band before, even if you have, it's like you wouldn't know he wasn't the lead singer of that band. He was just for real.
Right.
So I applaud him a lot, and I'd put him on my short list of guys I would want if I was starting a band.
Johan,
I don't think that Eric, he doesn't come from metal or hard rock. He could be a singer in any band. So I guess that's why I agree with you, Brad. He doesn't move like we are used to see singers. He's he could be a singer in a pop band or whatever, because he's just a singer. He's not from metal. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he fit right in. I mean, it was just like a perfect mesh there of him in that band, and you could tell the band was very happy as well. It was just and I've never been a big Skid Row guy, and I saw them with their past singer. Help me out here, Victor. What's his name? Z something.
ZP3. Right?
Yeah, ZP3 or CP30 or whatever. That guy could sing, but as a front man, he didn't fit. He just, I mean, it was like he sat there going, yeah, these are Skid Row songs, and it was almost like a cover band. Where Eric in the band, it doesn't feel like a cover band at all. It feels like this is the band. So, I mean, the guy is nailing it both vocally and just personality wise. He really fits.
Cool. Jeremy, you were going to say something?
No, only just to say that the three of us might even have the chance to see them in Liverpool if we all get there at the same time. Because I know, Brad, you were thinking of coming over in October, and Johan was also saying October. So you never know. The three of us could be, because they're playing Liverpool around the end of October. So you never know.
All right, shoot me a date.
Yeah.
I'm trying to extend my stay there in England, either at the front end or the back end of the cruise. So we'll let me know.
Yeah, we'll do. There's some other bands on with them as well. So there's 4 bands on. I think Winger are on with them. Yeah. So it's
well, that would get my wife there, just like that. She's a huge Winger fan, which I am too. They're so good live. Really, really good. Have you ever seen them?
No, not live. No.
How about you, Johan? You ever see Winger? They ever get up to Sweden? No. Victor?
Nope.
Oh. Yeah, of course I saw them several times back in the day when they were, the original band and then the pole band. But I've seen them a few times since they've kind of gotten back together. Saw them in a really small club here in Salt Lake. And musically, they just blew it apart. I mean, those guys are such great musicians, and they were so tight. And Kip is a great singer still. I mean, he's still just hitting everything. So, don't hesitate to go see him. I feel like they were done wrong back in the end of the '80s, and don't deserve the tags that they get as far as the, I don't know, pop metal or whatever, but they're really really good, fun to see live. So there you go.
Excellent. As far as the Skid Row track, just circling back to that, I do think that it sounds like something that could have been on their first 2 albums. So I think it's definitely what they're going for. I mean, the reason to get Nick Raskolinix to produce your album is to get you back on track, basically. He's done that with Rush. He's done that with so many other bands over the years. So I think he's the perfect guy to do that. Neither one of the 2 songs have really knocked my socks off. I think they've been, as Rob has said, they've been decent, not terrible. So I think they're doing the job as to what they're looking for. So we'll see with the upcoming tracks where they go with this. The other thing that I listed that I guess the biggest news this week is the at the moment reported Pantera rumors that there's going to be a Pantera tour taking place with, up until yesterday, we didn't know who would be on drums and guitar, but now the new rumor is that it will be Zakk Wylde, who is somebody who had been rumored for a very long time, and on drums, Charlie Benante of Anthrax. My initial thought is that if they go out and do this as like the Ciavarella brothers do, like I've seen them as Return to Roots, for example, where they played the entire Roots album. If they go out and call it A Night of Pantera or something like that, initially I wouldn't have an issue with that. Now, here's the thing. I've had people say to me today, much like other bands, they own the name, so people shouldn't have a problem with them using it. And also, if they use the Pantera name, it will be easier for them to book shows. In my opinion, the flip side to that is that the 2 guys that wrote everything are dead. which are Dime and Vinny. Yes, Rex Brown gets writing credit on everything. But if you've heard Rex Brown's solo album, if you've heard that second Kill Devil Hill album, which is the one where he got his mitts on and helped write music on, he was definitely no Jimmy Bain. So Rex isn't that good of a songwriter. Vinny and Dime were. Now, with me saying that, Zach and Charlie are the main songwriters in Anthrax, BLS. And if you want to take it one step further, he's helped co-write a lot of these Ozzy classics that a lot of people love. So if you bring guys into the band with the idea that you're going to be recording music outside of touring, I think they probably picked the right two guys to bring in because of that, because they'll be able to write good stuff for the band. Now, does this mean that Ozzy tour, which was supposed to take place next year, isn't happening because Ozzy won't tour? Is Zach gone from Ozzy's touring lineup? And finally, does Anthrax go on pause, or do they bring in other drummers to play in Charlie's absence while he's playing with Pantera? Let's see. Jeremy, what do you think?
Okay, well, my only comment on all of this is about Zach, and you mentioned about touring with Ozzy, and as far as I'm concerned, Ozzy isn't going to tour again, and I think probably knows that in his mind that it's a very unlikely scenario to appear on Ozzy's albums and collaborate with on the music side. But I think he realizes that I think we all realize that the chances of Ozzy now touring are extremely slim, and if it's ever going to happen, it's not going to happen for a year down the road until he's better again. So my only comment on it is that you can see why Zach wants to be involved and would back away and not even think about what he's going to do with Ozzy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Johan, your opinion?
My opinion is that this is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We next year at European festivals we will both see Anthrax and Pantera because they will have a similar thing. That's a good thing. I think it will be. It's good. This is something that we, the audience, has been waiting for. Perhaps not me, but a lot of younger who want to see Pantera and hear Pantera songs live. And to be honest, this is, this will sound good. There are good players in this band.
Yeah.
The only problem is Phil Anselmo. If he's sober and hasn't smoked too much weed. So actually, only good. Both Anthrax and Pantera probably at festival bills next summer in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brad, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that I like Bob's attitude. He says, I will go see it. Can't wait. Because pretty much everything I've heard from the Pantera diehard people is that this is blasphemy what these guys are doing. How dare they? And you wonder like how much of the concert going public are that group and how much are in the Bob group. But it's like, oh, I like Pantera. I would go see this. So it's kind of like what's going on with Kiss and the people that are really pissed off about what they're doing. Which to me, this is totally different because there's some other underlying issues here that people have.
Yes.
Which you can probably discuss that. So I don't know, man. I'm not a big Pantera fan. I respect their music and what they do. I had a guy put me in the back seat of his car for about 40 minutes and play nothing but Pantera louder than I'm comfortable listening to music at. And that kind of did me for Pantera for a while, pretty much forever, actually. But I can't say it was awful. It was just like, okay, I've had enough. Okay. And I like to rock, you know that.
Right.
I do like to rock. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and what happens, and if they do, how big a tour they do, and how much of a commitment it would be to these other guys to join this. And I mean, Charlie, I find the most interesting one, because you would think Anthrax is going to be doing stuff.
Right.
And I can't, I mean, Anthrax certainly has played with other drummers, right?
Yeah, but that's due to Charlie's carpal tunnel issues.
Right. Right.
So they've played with Gene Hoglan. They've played with John Deddy as well. They've played with Jason Bittner, and I may be missing someone, but yes, they have played with drummers.
Yeah, that sounds like a trivia question. Tuesday. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I was Charlie, I think I'd be committed to Anthrax more than anything. So if there's any bit of a conflict, I'd be like, no, guys, I can't do this. I got to stick with my band. But I don't know. We'll see what kind of a commitment they're looking at. If they're just going to go to Europe and do some festivals over there, then maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, could be. Johan, do we have enough time to talk about Sweden Rock, or we have a little more than 15 minutes, or would you prefer to hold off on your report?
I just wrote to you in Messenger. No, we take it the next time. I have big notes here, so we no, we don't rush through Sweden Rock.
Yeah, I didn't want to rush through it, so I wanted to make sure. I wanted to ask you beforehand, and I don't want to cut you off once Nikki comes on. I don't want you to be halfway through and be like, "Oh well, Johan, we'll save the other half." So we'll do Sweden Rock at another point in time. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss real quickly? These last 15 minutes of the show here.
Probably is, but it's hard to.
What do you guys think about Nita Strauss leaving Alice Cooper's band and now officially joining Demi Lovato's band? Now, I know from someone years ago who had been playing, who supposedly this guy played on a metal album that Demi Lovato had recorded. And at the time, both Disney and her management would not allow her to release this album because she had a squeaky clean image to the public. Meanwhile, she had apparently written this album after having a misadventure with her health. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to get into any problems, but she's had issues with certain substances over the years. And apparently she wrote this album with a band that was from upstate New York because they weren't allowed to put this album out. What I was told was that they were playing small venues. They would come in and change the name of the band, and she would come out with a wig on and stuff to disguise who she was. And then about a year after this, management and Disney whisked her away to something else, and basically they said, no, project's dead. There's nothing else that's going to happen. So it doesn't surprise me that all these years later that she would bring Nita in, and that Nita has canceled everything. Online people are having a big problem with this because, how dare she leave Alice Cooper for something like this? But think about it. Demi Lovato is someone who's big with a younger crowd. She transcends music, and the ability to not only tour but possibly write music with her is probably going to put a lot of money in Nita's pocket. Probably more than being, the sixth member in Alice Cooper's band, which essentially she is. So, anyway, Johan, congratulations for being on vacation in your grappa there. Any thoughts on this situation with Nita leaving Alice's band? Johan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious. I read something about this, but I don't know who who she is leaving for. Is
Okay.
she famous?
Yes. She's a Disney actress who was part of a bunch of different Disney TV shows and movies. She's very well known, especially in the United States and with
Uh-huh.
people that are probably under 30. She's very famous.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
not
I know who she is, and look how old I am. So there you go.
Was she part of the group that was on Barney the Dinosaur when I was watching it with my daughter? Because there was quite a few famous people that came off that show, and I think Miley Cyrus came off that, and I think Demi Lovato was another one.
It could be because they're in the same sort of age group, and I know a lot of like those people went to Disney and have slowly splintered off. Obviously, Miley Cyrus kind of did her thing first because they kind of couldn't control her, I guess.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look that up. But
I think there were quite a few who made it famous from that show. I think at the time because they're all. Is Brad?
I just did a Google search, and first thing Google responded was "really?" with a question mark. And it said, "Okay, if you really want to know about her, yeah, she definitely was on Barney,
Right.
2002 to 2004."
Yeah. So yeah, that's when I was watching with my daughter when she was young. So there you go. Yeah. I think there were quite a few who came off that show. Real famous people now who started on there. But the interesting thing I'd just like to add into that. I mean, I saw Alice Cooper very recently live, and it's quite a show. There's a lot of people involved, and she was good. I mean, I thought she was really good live and did some great guitar work, some great soloing. But she wasn't. I mean, she was in a way kind of making herself sort of center stage when she was up there, sort of doing her stuff. But you can imagine that Alice Cooper's bigger than that. People were there to see Alice; they're there to see the show, and you could have put in any guitarist to do that stuff. So she's not going to be a major loss for him, and it's probably a great step for her. So it's almost a win-win situation. I mean, Alice will replace her with somebody else, and it won't matter. I think it's a good move all round. Sorry, what are you saying?
Yeah, she's been replaced already. He's bringing Kane Roberts back into the band.
Okay, right, yeah.
Who was in the band during the 80s for the what's the name of the album? Raise Your Fist and Yell, I think, is the one album, and the other one's Constrictor, could it be called, possibly? And Alice basically said, that he's happy for her and that the Alice Cooper band is a revolving door where members can come and go, and that Kane is going to be playing with him for this fall run. And actually, that lineup that Kane was in is where Kip Winger first came from, and Paul Taylor, actually, who ended up in Winger. Both of them were part of Alice Cooper's band at that point in time. That was his band at that point in time. And as Bob is saying, it'll be a nice paycheck for Nita. I mean, I don't blame someone for doing that. And a lot of people, again, they're bothered by it. Oh, how could she leave a legend? But again, she's the third guitarist in the band. There's another 5 people up on stage with her. There, you have to divide all that up. And in all these years, finally Alice is going to release an album with his touring band. Now, after all these years, she's been in his band, I think 6 or 7 years at this point. There's people like Glenn Sobel, who's been in the band for like 10, who's not appeared on an Alice Cooper album. So, I mean, good on them for finally doing that. And, she's probably going to be, if not Demi's main songwriter, one of her main songwriters that are going to help, put together some of her future music. So, I get it 100%. So, other thing that we could bring up here real quickly, I'm already seeing a backlash from people that Metallica's Master of Puppets was used during Stranger Things, with people complaining, oh, now we're going to have all of these posers wearing Metallica t-shirts and showing up at, Comic-Cons dressed as Metallica characters. I
I
don't
think
get that. Again, I always think about what Michael Kiske from Halloween said to me. He said that when he first, listened to rock music and got into heavy metal, it was about rebellion, about there being no rules. And he said, nowadays there's more rules than the Bible. So he said that it was kind of dumb that people weren't easily accepting of other people, that were to come into the genre. So I don't get this instant hate of people not liking it. And look, I get it. There's a lot of backlash with like the Kardashians wearing Exodus t-shirts and stuff like that. But again, what does that mean to one of those bands? If the Kardashians wear a t-shirt and then all of a sudden 500 kids rush out and buy an Exodus t-shirt because of that, that's good for the band. That's just they're a billboard and helping promote that band, helping promote metal. So I mean, I don't understand the gripe that people have. There's a lot of the term is gatekeeping, with people wanting to keep people out of the club. But what do you guys think of this whole thing, Johan? What do you think about it?
I think it's great for younger people to discover our music.
Yeah,
Like Kate Bush running up that hill.
same thing.
Huge thing now
Mhm.
from Stranger Things. So it's only good. Only good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree 100%. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, I could only echo the same thing. I mean, we want the youngsters to listen to our stuff. It's a great thing. The bands will want it, and why not? There's nothing wrong in it, is there really? Totally agree with Johan.
It makes it cool too. It's not the same seeing a bunch of 60-year-old guys playing it on stage as having these young kids interpret it in this show. So, these kids probably have never seen Metallica themselves. They're hearing the song as it's played in the show. I haven't gotten past the first few episodes of the season yet, so I don't know exactly how it plays out, but yeah, seeing these kids play it will probably turn them on easier to Metallica than actually seeing Metallica in 2022. Seeing an old guy on stage, them saying, what do I want nothing to do with this old guy. Whereas they see a kid that's supposed to be a high schooler playing it, then it opens the door a little bit easier for them. Brad?
Yeah, I haven't seen the episode yet. I saw the first half of this last season. My son immediately alerted me to what was going on, though. He says, Dad, you got to see this. And I think Jeremy's going to agree with me that they really should have done a Saxon song. So that's who really needs to be out there in the public. Metallica doesn't need any help. They don't need people to know about them. Everybody knows about Metallica.
That's true.
Not enough people know about Saxon. So.
Well, let's be honest. What is easier to sell? The biggest
Kate Bush.
Kate Bush. All right.
No. That's a perfect example. It's like, who the hell? People don't know about Kate. I mean, anyway.
I knew about Kate Bush. That's one of the things.
I knew about her, but it wasn't a positive thing. Now it is.
Well, the other thing too is I'm surprised that for anyone that's kind of in the know, Placebo covered Running Up the Hill during the 90s, which was a huge hit for them as well. So it's funny that all of a sudden, we're hearing this song for the first time after 40 years. No, it was also a hit 30 years ago, in the 90s. So classic rock played it all the damn time. But yeah. Anyway, so we're about to wrap up the first hour of the show before we bring Nikki Law on. Any parting words from you guys about this week in music?
Well, just happy to see you all, guys, and to hopefully that someone is listening that feel the same way that we do. Just enjoy and pure happiness. Yeah.
You can tell Johan is starting off his vacation and is feeling very good tonight. So yeah, there you go. Jeremy, any parting words on your behalf?
No, I'm just going to play a lot of Swedish rock and metal for Johan this week because it's holiday time, so why not?
There you go. Brad, I know that you're under the weather. Hope you feel better soon. Anything on your end?
No, but thank you. Yeah. I got it every day. I want to wake up feeling better. So hopefully tomorrow's the big day. Have my big retirement party at work Monday. That's looks like it's gonna be quite a shindig. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I'll be feeling well for that. And I'm just glad to be here with you guys. I miss you guys. So thank you.
Well, we miss you as well. And Brad, is your surprise party when they tell you that you need to stay on until the end of the year?
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. No, this is it. We're done and done. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. As usual, for anyone that's listening to the podcast version of this concludes this episode, and check out the next episode for my interview with Nikki Law. See you guys in 2 weeks. So, all right, guys. Thanks. All right. So we welcome to the show, after many years of trying to make this happen and convincing, and I think I've sent multiple emails seeing if I could interview the one and only Nikki Law. And finally, we have her on. Nikki, how are you?
Good. How do I sound?
You
Good?
sound excellent. Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I feel like we've known each other too for like 11 years, I think now. Going all the way back to when I started at Century Media. It's been a long ride. Yeah.
You were technically my boss at Metal Army America.
Yeah, I know. I know. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, that's bringing it way back.
Yeah. So I've known you, again, Century Media, Metal Blade, and then now you have your new endeavor with your own shop. You have Breaking the Law PR. What was the main catalyst for you to decide to go out on your own?
I mean, it was something I've always thought about. I do like the freedom of working from home and like being an independent contractor, making your own hours kind of thing. And for me, I just felt like it was the next step in my career personally. You know, as a label publicist, that's great too. It has its own challenges, but now as a freelancer, I can really work with anyone I want, like metal, yes, but even beyond that. And that kind of growth is what I was looking for.
Gotcha. Okay. And growth, you're doing an interview with me here. What prompted you to decide to start to do interviews? Is it that? Do you want to let people know that you're doing more than what they know you for, and try to get, the brand name out there and your name out there a little more?
Yeah, definitely. I also just feel more comfortable since this is my own brand. I feel like if I were to do interviews as a label publicist, it's just maybe tricky. I think a lot of people would ask questions that would be difficult to answer. Whereas now I feel like I'm in more control and can answer more honestly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get it. Because there's a lot of cogs in the wheel too. I mean, there could be something that you feel is correct or the right way to do something, but you're not your own boss. You've got other people that are around you that may feel differently. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also do feel that now, I choose my clients and it's like a true representation of me and what I believe in. And, working at a label, I don't have those choices. It's, whatever the label signs, I have to work, right? So naturally, I'm not a fan of everything. I don't think anyone would be, but now as my own boss, I can, it's a lot leaner of a roster, and I do believe in what I sign up for.
That's a big deal too. I mean, I've been podcasting for 13 years, and one of the things that I like doing is pursuing bands that I actually like, as opposed,
Mhm.
hey, if you interview my 45 bands, maybe you can speak to that one big client that I have on my roster.
Right.
It's kind of the
Mhm.
same thing. If you're writing about someone, if you want to promote them, you really want to feel like you're a part of that team, like you speak for them, and vice versa, as opposed to, yeah, all right, I'll work these guys, but I really have no interest in them.
Exactly. Yep. I totally agree. I mean, most of us in this business are here as like a passion, right? And
Right.
if that passion's not there, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
We're not making millions here, guys. That's how I
absolutely.
feel anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I've always wanted to talk to you, not only because I've always felt that you were easy to approach and speak to, but obviously I'm a fan who's been doing a podcast for all these years. There's so many things that happen that, I don't know about, that, you listen to other people that, obviously you listen to someone like a Jamie Josta and his show, and
Mhm.
he can talk to interviewers or people that he's interviewing on a specific level because he knows a lot of the mechanisms that take place behind the scenes. There's a lot that I'm sure that you do that no one even knows about, that, when a band succeeds, I'm sure that, you're one of the unsung heroes when it comes to promoting a tour, or when it comes to promoting an album or something like that. At the same time, you're kind of in the shadows, where the general public, if something doesn't work the way that you wanted, yeah, maybe the band will come back to you and say, yeah, we didn't get what we expected. But you're also not getting that from the general public as well. You're not getting that same type of heat from them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I've always seen it is, well, I agree with you that publicity is kind of a thankless job most of the time, not all the time. Um, but I do think that it's like hard to quantify the work you put in. Like, it doesn't translate necessarily to album sales or other things. So sometimes people are like, well, what are you doing all day? And it's like, well, there's just, yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Follow up, scheduling, rescheduling that I don't think a lot of people understand. And yeah, I do think that generally when a campaign's successful, it's like everyone's win, like it was the
Right.
manager and the booking agent, the band and the publicist, it's everyone together. But if something goes wrong, I feel like I'm one of the first doors people knock on. I don't know why. Maybe it's just I don't even know if it's because I'm a publicist or if I'm just a very responsive person. But yeah, I'd say when shit hits the fan, it's like, yeah, I usually hear from someone. So it's yeah, it's definitely challenging, I'd say.
Do you think that's other people, uh, playing the hot potato there and saying, I don't
Yeah.
want to take it. Go to the publicist. We did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think publicists also we tend to be in touch with bands more often than maybe other people in the team are.
Mhm.
So again, if you're a very responsive publicist, people will just automatically head to you again when shit when shit hits the fan.
Right.
But I actually don't mind those situations. I mean, I don't if I truly fucked up on something, I would own up to it and be like, "Hey, yeah, that was my fault." But if it
Right.
wasn't me, I'd be like, "Okay, well, let's look at it this way," or, "Let me explain this to you."
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot more people would be frustrated with that, but I think I have a pretty thick skin and yeah, I work hard, so I'm not really worried about people being, pissed off at me most of the
Yeah.
time.
I think that's also coming from a business side of things, because I think, at least for me personally, when you deal with certain people within the industry, it seems as if business etiquette or ethics kind of don't equate to what they do. There's a lot of strange things that take place, and that's something that I've never had when dealing with you, where if something doesn't happen or if something doesn't work out, there's always been a way to make it work. It's been kind of, it's atypical. I mean, there have been interviews that haven't taken place. I can tell you a quote unquote nightmare story where I've called someone and spent I don't know how much money leaving them voicemail messages and being told by a publicist, well, you did this wrong. Well, you did that wrong. Instead of, okay, how can we solve this and get this interview to take?
Mhm.
So I've, knock on wood, that's something that I've never dealt with you. And from what you're explaining now, it seems as if you have more of a business background to want to, you know, work that side of angle as opposed to just kind of throwing your hands up in the air and saying, someone else's fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balancing act, making the artist happy and also keeping relationships with media. For me, like, I don't know, I try to treat everyone, like, with the same level of respect, and
Yeah.
I do definitely give maybe too much of my time, but I don't know, I no matter what size of the outlet, I just yeah, I wanna make sure that, you're not getting screwed over and, um, things work out for you, and same
Mhm.
for the artist, and, everyone walks away happy. That's, like, my ultimate goal is, yeah, as I said, like, keeping both sides, um, taken care of, yeah.
Cool. Real quickly here, say hello to, or I want to say hello to Jose in the chat. Also, Joseph Michael from Witherfall checking in, toasting us there. Let's kind of dial the clock back. We mentioned the whole Century Media thing and all that. Where did you start out? What was the jumping point for you to get into all of this? What did you aspire to work in music? Was it a happy accident? What started everything?
Yeah, I guess growing up, I always wanted to work in entertainment, whether it be music or movies, but I guess, like, when I was a teenager, I started going to shows, and that was when MySpace, was still a thing, and I would be just on my own, like, going to shows, taking, like, amateur photos and, like, writing little MySpace blog, like, reviews as a teenager,
Right.
and, I didn't necessarily think it would lead to anything, I was just doing it as a fan, but someone reached out to me about it saying like, "Hey, we like what you're doing. Why don't you just do it for our, press publication?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." So I think my first interview was with Children of Bodom, and that might have been like, geez, like 2005? Yeah, maybe around there. Anyway, so yeah, I started doing interviews and just doing what I was already doing, like doing little reviews, taking photos. Uh, Eventually, yeah, I started getting connected with people in the scene through that, like totally like a range of people, like promoters, uh, people who even worked in like the gear industry. Um, and so I just started making connections and realized like, hey, I think there's something here. Like I think like I've always wanted to work in entertainment. I love metal music. I'm starting to know people. So it kind of just took off from there. Eventually I got an internship through Century Media through some connections, and yeah, the rest is history. Internship turned into job, and here I am.
Um, we were talking on the previous hour about the whole all the rumors that are taking place with Pantera currently. Um, from a PR standpoint, is something like that a nightmare for you to have something like that leak? Or is the old adage, all news is good news? How would you approach
Mm.
something like that?
I mean, I guess I'm more of like the new school way of thinking of all news is good news, but I know I'm in like the very small minority on that. I actually feel in the same way, the same about albums. I'm not saying like it's great if it leaks like years in advance or something if you were
Right.
sitting on it. But I actually don't think an album leaking, a couple weeks in advance potentially even a month in advance, depending on what it is a bad thing. I think it just means people are excited and it shows like this organic interest.
Mhm.
That's my personal opinion about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But again, I'm just small minority, I think.
Well, I mean, obviously the whole industry has changed. I mean, back in the MySpace days, you blew my mind. I thought MySpace was still a thing. Back in those days, I mean, I remember Anthrax's "We've Come for You All." Nuclear Blast in Europe released it 6 months before it came out in the States.
Mhm.
So that album, and there were other albums similar to that that leaked 6 months in advance. Um,
Right.
Nowadays, obviously, from what you're saying, that doesn't happen anymore. But there are so many things, so many different ways of measuring, through streaming where, obviously Billboard and other platforms like that have adapted to include, streams as a way of measuring what an artist is doing, where, streams are coming from, where they should tour. There's a lot of stuff that actually, uh, where I think bands in the end are benefiting. Obviously, the monetary gains aren't what they once were, but
Mhm.
um, I think that there's still things that there's certain silver linings that you can find along the way.
Well, I will say on the monetary level, I mean, I've seen definitely some artists be extremely successful since the pandemic doing streaming like this,
Right.
podcasts and whatnot. I think that there are just I mean, this industry is constantly changing. Promotions is constantly changing. If you embrace the new way of doing things, I think there's definitely a possibility to finally have a career in music. But you can't just. It's not just about making albums and tours. It's also doing things like this. So you have to be willing to kind of do that, embrace the new way. Not everybody wants to. So.
Right. And that's interesting too, because during the pandemic, I think you had two extremes. You had bands that were willing to try things and keep, in the mindset of their fans. And there were others that just kind of sat on their couch and were like, no,
Right.
we'll just wait till all of this blows over. But it just, to me, it seemed like kind of a lost opportunity. There's so many bands that I think
Mhm.
have kind of released like the album of their career, um,
Mhm.
because they've had extra time. They have been able to work on songs. They were able to work on albums sonically, where maybe previous albums had good songs, but just didn't sound like the band did live or didn't sound as good. And I think that that's probably the biggest silver lining, from the pandemic, is those bands that did want to work, kind of being, still in their fans' minds and still work on their craft to better, as opposed to just hoping that something was going to happen through osmosis.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and, I've definitely seen I mean, I have some clients that are doing this now even, where they are just writing a single at a time instead of a full record at a time, and just dropping them, seeing how they perform, seeing the feedback, and then kinda crafting your next single around that feedback, and
Mhm.
then eventually putting all this together as an album. I mean, there's just, a lot of different ways to do it now. I think the pandemic really shook up the way people, again, like, promoted things, released things, priorities, everything. Uh, there's definitely good and bad with it, and I agree, like, some people, I mean, I can't really criticize anyone who didn't take advantage of those opportunities during the pandemic. I'm not a musician. I can
Right.
imagine being like, having dated musicians and hearing how important live music is to them and
Mhm.
touring and not having that, I could see where you just don't feel, like, creatively motivated.
Mhm.
So I see that side of it too. But yeah, it's I guess whatever works, for people, but, I personally think that it's great that there's just new ways to get yourself out there, and you don't have to be on the road all the time to put money in your pocket.
Do you think by seeing, a lot of the stuff that we mentioned that took place because of the pandemic, Do you think that will change how a lot of bands act to do exactly what you mentioned, where maybe they'll take longer between cycles to maybe work more on their music, on the production, on different things that maybe before it was album tour, and that was the only way of doing things again. Bob in the chat mentioned Trivium. Matt Hafey is making I don't know how
Mhm.
much money off of Twitch right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I personally think so, but again, it depends on the band because it's not like every single artist embraces this either.
Yeah,
There's definitely still a lot of artists that do see it as like album tour in 2 years, another album tour. But I think the people that are embracing, like Matt, new ways of doing things, yeah, I don't see the point in releasing an album like every 2 years anymore. To me, it just seems like a little too frequent. Or personally, like as I said, I liked the approach of just dropping singles over time and then putting that together as an album. I know that's like very not metal approach to releasing music, but I think that's like a cool way to give fans like new things, like little nuggets here and
mhm.
there, and then but while still not releasing an album like all the time, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Well, that's if we look back at things, that's how they did in the '60s, actually. Like the
Mhm.
Beatles and all of these bands that were like pioneers, that's what they did. They would release singles every so often. You'd
Right.
get an
Mhm.
EP, and then you'd get the full length with everything kinda put together. So it's not that far-fetched. It's worked in the past. And I think
Mhm.
for a lot of older bands, that makes a lot more sense too, because you see a lot of these bands, record a full length, and then
Mhm.
you go see them live and they play one song off of it. So it's kinda like, what's the point in
Right.
releasing, working on a full length when you're not gonna play those songs live? I've kind of been of that same mindset, just give me a single, give me an EP where,
Yeah.
you're all right, so you're releasing 4 new songs, but you're gonna play 2 of them live. I get that more than just, "Okay, we released a new album, but we're not playing anything off of it live."
I mean, I think it depends if the artist is like really creatively fired up and they're like, yeah, like a fountain of creativity can release like really strong records all the time, then fine. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's just sometimes I feel like people do that because that's the way it's always been done
Right.
versus like waiting until they're like creatively refreshed and then putting out like their strongest effort.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm trying not to make like blanket statements here. Like every band should wait 5 years. Every band should drop
Yeah.
singles here and there. But I just think it really depends on the situation. But I think most importantly, there shouldn't be this like mold or like routine with music or creative things. It should be like when you feel like you have the strongest record, then you put it out, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, if you drop singles and then make an album around it, like just yeah, think more creatively. Don't approach it like the way it has been, I don't know, pre-pandemic, I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day too, like everyone's life is different, every band is different. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of what I said too, not every band has worked the social media aspect of it or the streaming aspect. Some of them because they couldn't. There are some people that had to go out and get jobs and do things to make
Right.
ends meet.
Mhm.
So everyone knows how what they need in their own life and how they need to run things. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick and make a blanket statement either. It's just
Yeah, I know. I always try to it's really hard to, like, have an opinion, but then also be, like, open-minded. I just
yeah,
try my best as a
absolutely.
publicist, as someone crafting press releases daily. So
Yeah,
trying to word things correctly here.
yeah, I hear you. Um, for the most part, I mean, metal is still a guy's world, still a man's
Yep.
world.
Mhm.
Do you feel that that has changed any from when you started? I mean, we've had obviously things like the Me Too movement. We've had a lot of different things with advances. We've also had huge setbacks in the last few weeks um, outside of music. But
Mhm.
do you feel that the music industry itself has changed at all? I mean, I look at yourself. I look at someone like Maria at Adrenaline. I look at Amy at Atom Splitter, Liz at Ear. Um, Earsplit. I don't want to screw up any of these PR names because I work with all these people. Ebony Janae is another one, and ultimately Tracy Vera, who's the president over at Metal Blade as well. So there are women that are within predominant roles within the industry, but I'm neither a female. I'm not on your side of the fence either. So I can speculate, but I don't know exactly what's taking place. In your opinion, do you think there have been some steps made? And I mean, without a doubt, there still needs to be a way to go to reach equality or to reach a certain type of, standard that would have females be seen in the same way that males are within the industry.
Um, this is kind of a tricky question. I mean, to me personally, I don't feel like my day-to-day life has changed a whole lot from when I started.
Okay.
I do I hear what you're saying, that there's definitely, women throughout the industry, and then there's women in, like, very prominent positions, but I don't know. It's just, you still, as a woman, at least me, you encounter, like, the old guard, especially, where you just don't get that level of respect.
Mhm.
And there was even one situation recently where there was another woman on the call, one of the people you actually mentioned, and just the way that this man was coming at us, we knew, like, both of us agreed it was like this very, like, dinosaur, like, I don't know, old white dude kind of thing, where, it was just really combative for no reason, like, completely disrespectful. It was ridiculous. I mean, he started the call with some comment about, like, "Oh, all women on the call, like, oh, just me, the man." It was just really awkward, and I mean, after that, I pretty much decided, like, I can't work with this person. So,
Wow.
there's still a lot of that in the industry. Thankfully, at this point, I can kinda choose not to work with those people.
Yeah.
So maybe I still encounter it, of course, like I
Right.
just mentioned, but maybe I come across it less now because I have my own business. And again, I'm trying to choose the people, like, I want to work with people that I want to work with and people
Yeah.
I believe in. But yeah, it just rears its head every once in a while. I don't know why. So I'd say that, and just, oh, yeah. I mean, I've had, like, my Me Too situations throughout the years, in and out of the industry. So I don't know. Sorry if that's not. I feel like most of them are like, yes, it's much better, and I'm this rain cloud saying, like, no, not really. But that's just how I personally feel. And in light of other things that happened recently, in this country, it just, I don't know. I just don't get the vibe that we're as respected as we should be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hopefully that doesn't make you feel any more awkward.
No, no. I mean, it's as someone that's a very emotional person, it kind of pisses me off to hear that I mean that somebody isn't respecting you for as a person, for your work, what you do, and everyone that I mentioned them because I have a good relationship with them when it comes to doing all this stuff. So it annoys me that in 2022 that somebody would treat you or anyone else like that. There's unfortunately there's a reason why there's some people that have faded and kind of gone away because of
Mhm.
that type of mentality. But unfortunately, as you're saying, there's still plenty of it left. And obviously, like I said before, your experience is going to be your experience, so it's going to be different to other people that just look at things with maybe through rose colored glasses. Obviously, you're
Yeah, I
doing.
mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, it's okay. I mean, to further that point, like, another, like, Me Too kind of moment, one of those guys was just promoted into, like, a managerial role. This company, another one sitting at the top, has been for years. I think we got some of the most obvious offenders, right? But there's still a lot of people lurking in the shadows that are really inappropriate and disrespectful. And it's just, I think the response is just like, well, that's how they are. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. It's just like, well, they're from this generation. That's just how they are. They've always been like that. I mean, I don't find that acceptable, but
Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't I don't either. So I'm with you there on that. That makes no sense. Again, getting back to business ethics and just being ethical with people, whether you're from another generation or not, there are things that were acceptable 100 years ago that aren't acceptable now. There are things that were acceptable a few years ago that aren't acceptable now. I mean, people change and evolve. That's part of what being a human being is. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I'm again one of the weird ones, but that makes no
No,
sense to me.
I'm with you. I constantly like this still happens in 2022. Like how?
Yeah.
I'm so confused. But yeah, here we are. I guess in my own way, I really try my best to uh yeah, I mean obviously treat people with respect, duh, but think of new ways. Like I brought on some part-time help. I'm like really trying to think about how to like treat her fairly and like develop her in
Mhm.
ways that, maybe I was kind of kept under people's thumbs
Yeah.
maybe in the past for whatever reason. And like I'm just doing my best to um yeah, change things in my own way, in my own little small way. And maybe that inspires someone else. I don't know. That's just my hope anyway.
No, I guess that makes sense. That where especially in your position, this is just my opinion. If you're someone's boss, if you have your own thing, anyone who's under you, you want them not only to be able to do the job, but also become better people along the way. I would think become more prepared. Um,
Mhm.
Coming from IT, I had someone once told me, "Well, why are you teaching so and so how to do that job? Is it because she's a female?" I said, "No, I want to have a competent coworker that can do the job if I need to delegate, that she can do the same job." And and right before I left that job, I had the boss tell me, "Well, you were really keen on this person." I'm like, "Yeah, because they were a good worker, not because of anything else." And his comeback was, "Well, I've hired somebody who's gonna be even better because of her anatomy." And I'm like,
Ugh,
um,
barf.
yeah, I'm like, "Well, can she do the job? What's her background?" "Oh, that doesn't matter." I'm like, "Glad I'm leaving."
Yeah,
Um,
good for you.
so
Yeah, I've heard similar things. I mean, not in, of course, in the industry, but I know of one company where they were looking to hire someone, and it was all men on staff, and of course, everyone wants to be like an equal opportunity employer. But I know someone there, and internally they're like, "There's no way we're bringing a woman in here. Like, we're not changing this dynamic. Like, it's gonna stay all dudes." And I was just like, I mean, stuff like that. It's just frustrating hearing it again. I don't want to be a downer, a bummer, and maybe it's just my own experience. But yeah, it's like, when will this change, guys? Come on.
it's the reality of what's taking place. So
Hmm.
with us talking about all of this, is it important that people see you as a woman PR person or just as a great PR person?
I would much rather a great PR person. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, and hopefully people see that. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, it being a woman-owned business, I think that's also important too. Maybe that inspires other women to I mean, this is a boys' club, traditionally, so maybe that tells other women, like, "Hey, it is possible to, like, be to have a career in this field." So,
Right.
but more importantly, a great PR person.
Yeah, I asked Diamond Rowe of Tetrarch last year when I interviewed her, because I'd seen different articles written on her, and I asked her. I said, you fit a lot of like atypical things within metal. You're African American. You're a lead guitarist, and you're playing in basically a new metal revival band. What do you want to be known as? And she said, well, first and foremost, I want people to know me as a great musician. Now, similar to what
Mhm.
you said, if this gets more girls to pick up the guitar because they see me playing and say, hey, I can do that, or I want to do that, then that's a plus. So I get
Mhm.
what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, let's see here. When you're dealing with a new band, because obviously you're saying that you need to be interested in a band in order to work with them. But even before that, what are the biggest do's and don'ts for them if they want to work with you?
Hmm. I respond really well when people email me, first of all, instead of DM me on various platforms. So that'd be number one. Also, when you email me, if you sent me, some information, whether that's something as formal as a press kit or just links, like kind of bullet pointed things, that really helps me know, like, especially if it's a band, that I've never heard of before.
Mhm.
So it gets me interested right away. I mean, I had someone today email me, sent no information. They sent me a timeline of what they want to do. Single here, tour here, EP here, but like I don't know this band. There was no links, no nothing. So that kind of stuff, I wouldn't say it's a turn off, but when someone presents something really professionally over
Mhm.
email, that's like, okay, I'm interested. Let me check this out.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, the do's, the don'ts. I can't really think of a don't. I try to be really open-minded and I mean, I work with a whole range of bands and I've had, A-level bands. They're like, "Oh, don't send me attachments. I don't have, Microsoft Word or this Microsoft Suite. Just like copy paste everything into a body of an email." So, like I'm again, I try or like some people really love texting me. I'd say that actually a lot of people do. So, I wouldn't say that there's any don't. I, again, try to be open-minded to people's situations and
Right.
their savviness or needs with tech. But I'd say just be professional. That would be like make a good first impression. It's a big do.
Excellent. Yeah, one of the things that I've mentioned to you in the past that always has stood out from what you send out is that it always seems very professional, and it that's always caught my eye where you work with other people and it's like, okay, well, so here's this band's new video. And you're like, okay, when is the album dropping? Where are they from? What have they released? Who's on the album? There's so many things that it feels like, yeah, you want to convey this information, but if you really have nothing to go by, then how are you again supposed to get invested in the band and then in turn
Mhm.
help promote them if you've really got nothing to go on? The other good one is, yeah, so and so is this is their first video. They'll be releasing an album some point next year. You're like, okay, that's pretty vague.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I had someone hit me up, and I'm actually really interested in the project. They don't have any new music coming, and I guess they're probably pretty unknown here. I had never heard of them. But then they have a tour, just some like tour dates in the US.
Hmm.
And so we were talking about that, and this person was saying that it's going to be difficult because there's no new music, no new video, everything you were just talking about.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think that what they're doing is interesting enough to where I think people will want to talk with them. They're
Hmm.
also willing to make video content at home. Like I sent them some examples. So I think that there are definitely ways to promote like tricky situations like that, but there has to be something going on. I mean, again, like to get, you want me interested.
Mhm.
If I'm not interested, like how can I get media interested?
Right.
So it's like you, yeah, again, like present like your best case. It's like even if you don't have an album, it's like, okay, well, we have this really cool video. We worked with this really cool director. Like this guest is on it. I've heard all these things before, and some of that stuff, yeah, it actually is kind of interesting. So I don't know, yeah, like sell yourself to the publicists. That would be my recommendation or my advice to people
Right.
reaching out to PR.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously, you know, if they sell themselves well to you, you're gonna want to sell them to everyone else. So it just makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Um, now that I mean you're early on in the game with your own shop, you've been has it been a year already?
Almost a year in September.
Okay. So there's very few like the one that got away stories at this point, I'm assuming. Are there, you know, without naming any bands, have there been anyone that you've gone after that, you know, you really wanted to work with and haven't been able to?
Not really, actually. I feel, well, first of all, it's just me and I'm training some part-time help. So the bandwidth of what I can take on is pretty limited, which is
Okay.
fine. I really, I'm not looking to like have this huge roster. Just it
Right.
would be completely overwhelming, and I wouldn't be able to do like I imagine a lot of people wouldn't be happy with my work if I'm stretched
Right.
too thin. I can't, get around to everyone. So since I have like such a limited bandwidth, a lot of people actually come to me. People I know, like maybe I've worked with before, or new clients where maybe it's like a manager or someone I know. So, knock on wood, I'm kind of living off of referrals, and all the good work I've already done is now coming back to me. So I don't really seek out a lot, believe it or not. There was a band recently where, again, the label reached out. I haven't worked with them before, but I know of them. They're cool. Ultimately, they went with another PR firm, which I kind of suspected, but something else popped up at the same exact time that I, also believe in. So I'm like, hey, all right, well, I couldn't have taken on both these things anyway. So
Right.
here's this other cool thing. And, again, knock on wood, that's kind of how it's been for me. It's,
Mhm.
maybe one door closes and then another one opens.
Yeah.
And hopefully it just continues to stay that way. We'll
Well,
see.
yeah, and I mean that makes sense. I mean, I listen to a lot of like different podcasts from different parts of the entertainment industry and from like different shows and things. And it's interesting where they talk about, you know, huge firms taking on, you know, actors and directors and
Mhm.
writers and stuff. And they also talk about small like boutique managers, which could be kind of like a little closer to what you're doing where you know,
Mhm.
you've got a handful of clients that you feel that you can give them the maximum amount of your attention as opposed to just,
Mhm.
"Oh, you know, I need 30 clients." And then you realize that there's out of those 30 that there's 25 that really aren't getting the attention they really need.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. That I would hate that. It would just like I have like this problem with I'm a perfectionist, so the thought of disappointing people or them not being happy with my work would just kill me. So
yeah.
there's no way I would do that unless it was I've had like some people just kind of want me to issue a press release for them, and that's about it. Which
Mhm.
I don't take on that kind of work. Few people kind of dupe me into that, unfortunately. But uh, I would say like if that was all I was doing, like just essentially like writing and servicing press releases, then yeah, sure, I would do a lot more. But if it's like a full on album campaign, which is really what I sign up for, like I can't take on that much at a time to like really work it correctly.
Right.
So
And based on what you're saying, you're having a lot of labels that obviously when you're working with Metal Blade or Century Media, you're just working for them or any subsidiary of those companies. Whereas now, you know, any label is kind of fair game so long as you're
mhm.
interested in working with them.
Exactly, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
been nice. I mean, yeah, working with Century Media and Metal Blade now, but then also some other labels, which is cool. yeah, once again, bands of my choosing, which is nice. So can't complain.
Yeah. The other thing too with that, I would imagine that there's more stability too. You look at what happened with Century Media, where you have someone like a
Right.
Sony come in and gobble them up.
Hmm.
And I mean, for the most part, they've kind of stayed the course, but at the same time, I'm sure that there have been overlapping um, pieces there that have, been let go as a result. I don't know that that would ever happen with like with a metal blade, but we saw it with Roadrunner as well. We've seen it with a lot of different labels over the year. Being your own boss as well kind of ensures that that never happens as well.
Well, I mean, to me, going back to one of your first questions about, why I went freelance, I just think I love the labels I work with,
Mhm.
and not to put them down or anything, but as someone who's 34 in the record label business, it's not exactly the most like forward-thinking business model, right? So that was always kind of a concern of mine was, yeah, I was at a label, Century, that was acquired by Sony, and then I left soon after because, I mean, just with acquisitions in general, there's always going to be layoffs, especially redundancies. And eventually, like the whole team was laid off. So I would have been laid off if I stayed there.
Right.
So, you know, labels aren't exactly like a booming business. It's a lot of them get acquired or they like scale down. I mean, Century's doing, I think, even better now. I mean, but it's a whole new team, as well. So for me, like going freelance, uh, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's like forward thinking, but maybe safer in the sense that like I can adapt more easily.
Mhm.
I mean, labels, I guess, could adapt, but they don't really seem to want to very
Right.
much. So if like for some reason, like a recession, the upcoming recession everyone's worried about. If people don't want to do PR, I have other ideas to maybe get through a dry spell.
Mhm.
And for a label, that would be a lot more difficult to maneuver.
Right.
It's not like you just quickly just change your business model. Um, so yeah, again, like in the back of my head, it's like, okay, this is safer in that sense.
Yeah. You're ready, regardless. At this point, do you consider there to be like a dream band that you'd want to work with? Or are
Mm.
you just cool with the way that things are now?
Okay, well, so when you asked if I reach out to anyone, I did. So it's kind of a long shot. This band called The Midnight. I don't know if you've heard of them. Not
Yeah.
Midnight, the band I work with, but they're like a retro wave kind of
Yeah.
band. Their new album's like very like synthy Def Leppard,
Mhm.
from what I've heard so far. So yeah, I was my husband and I listen to them all the time. So that would be a band I'd love to work. Someone else is already working that campaign, but the manager did respond, so that was cool. So yeah, maybe one day, who knows?
Okay.
Small dreams.
Right. Um, Other bands that you're working with now, and a band that has been very interesting to me, who's really had a very DIY approach, has been Haunt.
Mhm.
Um, really, from starting their own label, from starting, just doing stuff on Bandcamp, and seeing that they were working with you. Um, how did that relationship kick off? Because everything was so DIY. Was that something where you had to approach him or vice versa because that was, something that he felt he was lacking with his brand?
So actually, his manager is a really good friend of mine,
Okay.
and also an artist, Jarvis Leatherby from Night Demon or
Okay.
Iron Grip Recordings, if you're familiar.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I love working with Jarvis. Jarvis approached me about it, and yeah, to me, it's like I'll do whatever Jarvis wants. So I mean, I'm also working the Night Demon record, so
Right.
um, yeah, so that's how that came to be. Yeah, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
As I
Cool.
said, I really haven't reached out to anyone besides the Midnight, I guess. Now that I think about
Okay.
it, yeah.
Cool. And that's interesting that you bring that up, because how that shows how the business has evolved, where you have people that are in bands like Jarvis, like a Blasco, like people like that who are
Mhm.
now in bands that are known, and they're still managing other bands as well. So it isn't just
Exactly.
they've got a lot of things going on.
Well, that's what to go back to what we were talking about, there's lots of ways to make music your full-time career. Look at
Yeah,
Jarvis, like, he's in a band, he's in multiple bands, actually. He also
right.
manages bands, he has a record label, he has his podcast, he does a lot of things, way more than me. So yeah, I mean, it's an industry where people wear a lot of hats
Mhm.
generally. And I do think that in terms of work, it's kind of the same thing with artists. If you put yourself out there, you do hard work, people will come to you.
Right.
Um, whether it's labels, management, agent, like some kind of representation will come to you eventually.
Mhm.
I believe that anyway. So
Gotcha. Okay. Um, as you expand what you do, is your idea to have other people under you to, say you handle 5 bands, they handle another 5, something like that, so that you can make sure that maybe the roster is a little bigger, but you're not the main person handling everything?
I wouldn't be against that. I guess
Okay.
it's a matter of finding the right people, which is really difficult. The person that I'm training right now, she has a full-time job. So I'm I think that for us, it will always be like a part-time thing. And for that reason, it's not like I could ever hand over something to her completely.
Sure.
I do also think, to, like, hand off a project like that, it's a little tricky because a lot of people, going back to the referral thing, they're coming to me for my work, and to just be like,
Right.
"Okay, yeah, I'll sign you up," and then, "Oh, here you
Here you
go.
go. Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
is a new
Makes
person,
sense. Yeah.
who will be your point person on everything." I don't think that that would go over that well. In order for that to work, it would have to be someone who's already, like, has a name that people also know,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I would love to work with them too," like, both of you. That's kind of to me, like a big like a tall order.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a small industry. Yeah, I don't know. So, we'll see.
It would have to be another Nikki Law, so that that person is giving the same amount of attention that you are, and ultimately breaking the law is you and your name and your brand. So
Right, exactly.
you
Mhm.
want your brand to be represented the way that you would represent it. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Mhm. I have other ideas for expanding services that, don't involve, more people.
Mhm.
Uh, my main idea is doing consulting. I keep wanting to do it. I just haven't had the time to really set it up, but,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I feel like there's definitely, this, like, need or demand for bands that can't, like, maybe hire a full-time publicist, especially over a couple months period of time, but
Mhm.
just want some kinda insight on, like, how to, like, when they should time things, do's and don'ts, maybe even, like, connecting them with other people in the industry, like videographers, photographers,
Mhm.
kinda more marketing stuff. Yeah, maybe, like, on an hourly basis, consulting people about that kind of stuff. I'd love to do that, I just need to make time for it, so hopefully one day, we'll see.
Right. That's a really cool idea, actually. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, because I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you have to have the time, you have to have the money, and like you're saying, there's a lot of bands that probably have neither.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
you know,
Mhm.
I see it from a web design standpoint, that a lot of people are just dead set on, no, this is my client, this is how much I make. If not, whatever. But at
Yep.
the same time, there's
Mhm.
kind of a human side to things where you kind of want to help people as well. So,
Exactly.
so
Mhm.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is I have a lot of people who turn to me, like, just for random advice about all kinds of things. Not that I'm an expert, I don't pretend to be, but sometimes I think, coming from a label background and also continuing to work with labels, there are just a lot of people out there that don't know how labels think, like what they're looking for, why they do things a certain way that they do.
Right.
And I'm always happy to advise about that stuff. But at the same time, I'm looking at like, you know, I have like so much in my day. Like, why don't
Yeah.
you just set aside an hour and you pay a reasonable fee that fits within your budget, and we can talk about all these things, and then, you know, we both get something like out of it. I mean, I feel bad, and that's the thing is I feel bad asking money for these kinds of things, but I'm at a point where I'm working on so many other things. Like,
Right.
I feel like it is fair, you know, to pay like a little bit for some knowledge and,
Yeah.
you know, advice, but we'll
Well,
see.
it ultimately does have to, you know, be worth your while. And also, I think what a lot of people don't realize, I get this when doing web design. Oh, well, it only took you X amount of time to do this. Why are you charging me this much? Well, there's a certain amount of experience that goes involved in what you.
Exactly.
There's
Mhm.
a lot of sharks out there in the water where if they had someone like you to guide them away from the sharks, um, it would probably save them headaches, time, and money. And let's be honest, that's probably like the biggest thing that people are looking for. So just
Exactly.
just to
Mhm.
get a little for your time, I don't think is a lot to ask for.
That's what I think too. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping to do it sooner than later. As I said, if I can train this part-time help to at least alleviate some things off my plate, then yeah, I think it's definitely possible to do it. So stay tuned.
From a podcasting side of things, with all the money, I was reading an article earlier today about all the money that's being pumped into podcasting, and because of that, the first union has been set up for podcasting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Is there a future for PR work with podcasts
Oh
outside of
yeah,
yeah, but
absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually yeah, I've reached out to a few podcasts, and I mean, I work with a few content creators, as you may know.
mhm,
Um, yeah, and I actually just talked with a new one yesterday. I definitely think that I've been struggling to like land them. I think
mhm,
it goes back to like people having money and time to deal with a
right,
publicist. And I don't think a lot of people think they could do it all themselves, which, you
right,
know, fair enough. But I think there will come a point where it's more standard to have a publicist be your representative and to do a lot of your outreach, especially for guests,
mhm,
maybe even scheduling. Another one that I've with one of my content creators, you know, he was really trying to figure out how to take he's like fine with the scheduling and the outreach, but he really wanted like how do you get your interviews with guests to land with media? And so we really fine-tuned like how to do that. And I was telling him what to like focus in on, and then like we work on it together, and then we, you know, send it off to media, and we've actually seen some pickups on that, which
hmm,
helps him. It brings in people to his podcasts or, you know, his streams.
mhm,
So there's definitely I think having a publicist for a podcast, I think, is definitely beneficial. It's not for everyone.
mhm.
um, and yeah, I think it will be eventually more common. So that's my personal opinion.
Cool. Good to know. Definitely, because like everything else, everything evolves. Podcasting, I've seen it in 13 years, how it's
Mhm.
evolved,
Yeah.
and someone like myself who's an independent podcaster, you know, at the beginning of things in 2009, there weren't, Eddie Trunks and Chris Jerichos and
Nope.
Justice.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, as bigger names have gotten involved, obviously, you know, the whole landscape has changed. So yeah, again, coming from the IT side of things, I'm curious with all this stuff to see how it all moves forward and how you know how a publicist down the road can help cure the mysteries of how to get on certain publications. But
Well, you have my email. So, I mean, yeah, it's funny, like, I don't know, this person again that I'm working with, he, like, came to me with that, and it's not like I have a ton of experience, but with all my PR experience, like, I know what these sites are looking for, and, like,
mhm,
taking that experience, being like, "Okay, well, let's do this," and then it worked. yeah, I mean, it's like we said, there's definitely value and experience, and it's been hard to get people to want to sign up for that, but
Right.
I think they'll see it eventually. They'll come around, and they'll
Yeah.
just keep moving forward. So
Yeah, I think my hardest thing, and not from a PR standpoint, but when you get done with an interview and you say, "Wow, that one was gold." Speaking to that person, whatever, you get these things where you're thinking, "All right, automatically this site's picking this up." And you get crickets, and then all of a sudden you see
Mhm.
an interview where you get your usual run of the mill. So how's the tour? So how's the album? And you're like, huh, that got picked up? So it's one of
Mhm.
the head scratching moments where at any type of leverage, I think nowadays for an independent podcaster is important. So
Yeah,
uh,
no, I hear you. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think too, sometimes it might, I mean, you're a press person. I'm sure you get a ton of press releases every day.
right.
There's just sometimes really heavy news days where it can be really hard to compete no matter what it is.
Right.
There's only, I mean, these sites are only going to post X amount a day.
Yeah.
I've actually seen recently, like, big news of mine posted, like, a day later.
Mhm.
I mean, everyone I talk to is like, "I'm so burnt out. I have 200 news items in my inbox." So, yeah, trying to, like, stand out from that noise can be really challenging, these days, but there's definitely ways to do it, I think, that make it more appealing or make it more, attractive for them to pick up and repost. I'll put it that way, without
Gotcha.
giving my secrets away.
Don't want to give the special sauce there, for sure. Usually before wrapping an interview up, I ask the artist, the usual, where should they go to keep up with what the artist is doing, so on and so forth. With Nikki Law, where do you
Yeah, I mean, right there is my handle,
Okay.
and, you'll follow me right there, and I'll lead you to, Breaking the Law, but yeah, I'd say, like, Instagram, Facebook. I have a link tree. I don't have a site yet. I know we've talked about that. Maybe eventually it's on the mental to-dos, but, yeah, at Breaking the Law PR or at Nikki the Law would be, the places to go.
Excellent. Last question. Now, I featured this graphic. This was one of the awesome pictures that you have on your social media.
Yeah.
My question, have you ever walked in those heels, or did you just put them on for the picture?
No, so I haven't done it recently, and it was kind of, also, like, not on a regular basis during the pandemic, obviously, but I danced for a really long time, maybe like 6 or 7 years, and then COVID hit, which disrupted all that. Um, so yeah, I would dance in heels like that. I think those are my 8-inch heels, but yeah, so those definitely 7-inch heels on a regular basis. It's actually easier than you think. It's kind of, like a little bit of an illusion, right? Because the front of the heel has this big wedge chunk,
Mhm.
so the real heel on the back maybe is like this much, which to most women isn't like a big deal. I'm sure you don't wear heels all the time, but yeah, it's actually, yeah, pretty comfortable once you get used to it. So yes, I have walked in them.
There you go. You learn something new every day. So
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
Nikki, I want to thank you for coming on. This was years in the making. It did not disappoint. Learned a lot of information, and as usual, I look forward to receiving your press releases, and will be in touch. I thank you for your time, and hope that everyone enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed doing it with you.
Yeah, it was great talking with you. I feel like this is the first time we've even seen each other, so
Yeah,
in like 10 years, so long time
absolutely.
coming.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone who's watching this live or who is listening or watching the replay of this. We'll see you in 2 weeks with some guests that I will have on. I'll leave it at that. Oh, Dan Lorenzo, who we screwed up with last week. So there you go. That's the guest we'll have on the 29th. So thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast. See you.